Alright guys, so we're going to do all the maintenance on this Audi A4, B6, B7 Avant. We're going to do oil change, spark plugs, air filter, cabin filter, fuel filter. We're going to go through that maintenance, and also we're going to repair some oil leaks to the vacuum pump. We have new seals for the vacuum pump, and if that solves our leak, then we won't even do the valve cover gasket and the rear cam cover. One of them is leaking, so we're going to investigate.
Oh my God. Taking off the gloves makes it easier to turn this bolt. Oh my God. Once you get all three Torx bolts out, the actual vacuum pump just comes out. Like so. Okay. You find a way for it to come out. Okay, I'll go through there. And as you can see, there's your leak. Someone put silicone around there. I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be a gasket. Pretty sure there's supposed to be a gasket that sits around here, not silicone. So someone, see there's a gasket right there, and it's completely flattened. So I have a whole seal kit to rebuild this. So we should be losing some oil from the back right now, just because it is open now. But now we'll be able to see. This is probably exactly where our leak's coming from. All right, guys, so here's our vacuum pump. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna replace all the gaskets. So we know that this gasket is obviously faulty because they tried to silicone around it because they could not get it to seal. There should not be a gasket here. I mean, there should not be silicone here. This should just be a gasket, should I say. Okay, so we'll pull everything apart. As you can see, that gasket is totally cooked. This is our culprit for our leak, if I had to guess, because of where the oil's running. This gasket is completely done. And we have our replacement gaskets here for that. But we're going to clean this all up. Okay. So next step is we got to open this whole thing up. So, okay, there's one. There's two. Okay. There's a gasket in there as well. Take a look at that one. Completely flattened out. Okay. I hope I have a gasket for that one too. Okay. Next step is we're going to take this apart. Okay. It is a T25. Okay. Here's our plate. There's our oil that accumulates in there, and that's why we get a leak. The oil, even when the car's not running, the oil pools up in the back of this vacuum pump, and what I get is I get a leak on the floor of my garage. So now we know where it's coming from. I'm gonna clean this all out so it goes in dry. Okay, so all these pieces can come out. Okay. Here's another one. Okay. Remove this seal here. Here's another culprit for a leak. Look how flattened it is. So now we're gonna clean this whole thing up. Step one. Get some brake clean. Okay. And what we want to use is we want to use a plastic bristle brush. We don't want to damage anything on here. So I'm just going to agitate the area. Just agitate the area. Plastic bristle brush. We do not need anything fancy. Spray it. Okay. Especially the contact points where the gaskets go. You don't want to eat away at any of the metal. I do have a copper one, which also won't damage. So in case you can't get anything out, I have this copper brush. It agitates the area just a little bit more. Spray it. Flip it over so you can see some remnant of some gasket. You want to get in between where the gasket sits, and you want to clean out any old gasket that's there. Good. You really want to get in there. That's the mating surface. Clean that all out. Clean everything. So here's your other gasket. You want to remove that one as well. Okay, clean that up. Want to clean that up. Just wipe it down. See, that's where the other gasket was making contact. So just see if it comes out with your plastic one. Doesn't. Just want to agitate that surface slightly. Just a Scotch pad. You just want to lightly agitate and remove that old gasket. Spray it. Same thing with this side. Clean it all up. Just wipe everything down. Okay, so if you lose this little piece, it actually just goes in here, because this will swing out. So just make sure that stays together. Okay. Grab your new gaskets. So just grab some Seal Glide. Lubricate your new gaskets. Just a little bit. Put them on. There's number one. Okay. You can see how much higher it is. So number one just slides in like so. And that's it. Nice and tight now. Okay. This seal here comes with two gaskets here. Maybe there's two different pumps that it could have. I don't see any more gaskets, so I think it's the smaller one. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. Okay. So there's the gasket. Nice and tight. It has a little ridge. That'll be our sealing surface. I am not going to put any silicone, and we'll see if it leaks. I highly doubt it. But if I really wanted to, I would put a little bead of silicone around there, and that would seal it up nice and tight. I still might do that. We'll see. Okay. So the next step is we're going to put our piston back in. Okay. And now we get our big gasket. Now we get this thing here. This slides in like so. And as this rotates, it creates vacuum. See? Just by rotating. Okay, so next step is lubricate our last seal. This seal right here. Literally just goes around here. Like so. Then our cover goes on. Make sure there's no debris. Okay. Grab your bolts, put them on, make sure that all the bolts are clean. So I have one bolt that doesn't look too clean, and I'm going to clean it up. This baby here, just tidy it up. Okay. Grab our impact, and we're just going to snug them. Okay, so we are going to confirm that. We're just going to hold it and just check, make sure they're tight. Tight, 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 tight. When you're dealing with bolts that small, you don't really need to, it's not as important to okay. Okay, so everything's ready to go back together now. All the new gaskets are done, and now you've rebuilt your vacuum pump. So I'll show you the kit that I ordered on Amazon. Here it is. And that comes with all the gaskets, and it looks like, depending on the vacuum pump you order, they could have different size gaskets. I'm assuming that's why it comes with an extra gasket. So now we're ready to put it back in. Now I'm trying to make the decision on whether or not I apply a thin layer of silicone on the end here. The person in me wants to trust the seal. You know what? We'll trust the seal. Worst case, we'll have to come back. What you want to do now is make sure that the other mating surface is perfectly clean. Just want to make sure that the surface here is perfectly clean. So when the gasket sits inside, nice and tight. Okay. Want to clean the area where the bolts go in. You want to clean these bolts up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean these 3 bolts up. So we just take a little bit of grease and just put it around here, just to make sure it slides on nice. All my bolts are clean. Now we got to get that gasket in. I mean the vacuum pump in. So I did find a room through here to get it in there. Okay. Okay. So there we go. Now you just got to line up the cam. The cam seems to be across, so just line it up and pop it back in place. All right, once you get it in, start your bolts. They're a little tricky to get to, and the one back there holds a bracket as well for the harness, so keep that in mind. Snug the first 2 up, but don't tighten them. Okay, 1. Okay. So the third bolt, this one here, there's actually a bracket. This bolt goes through, if I'm not mistaken. You just gotta line up the bracket and the bolt. Move your wiring out of the way. Actually, everything's kind of connected, so you gotta put your bolt through the bracket and line it up to the hole. Start turning. And it only kind of fits one way. Kind of interesting. Okay, now we tighten it. Hand tight. I don't know how you would torque wrench back here, but I'm assuming there must be some way. Someone must have done it. Okay. Yeah, tighten one head up at a time. Okay. Now tighten up the third one, the easiest one. Go figure, this is the easiest one. Okay. Tight. I don't think it's so much how tight this bolt is as to whether that gasket that we replaced is good or not. Because if that gasket's not good, then it's not going to seal regardless. So I think the most important thing is whether or not the gasket that we just changed is replaced. It could have been a combination of all the gaskets that were leaking, because this thing was like would piss oil out when you're just parked. So the only thing that I can imagine that would leak is that. Okay, so guys, so all the bolts are tightened now, hand tight as best as I can, and we're gonna start it up in the morning and see if it leaks.